Okay, picture the scene. It is 1898. We are standing in a research lab at Columbia University.
Mm-hmm.
The air is thick. It probably smells a bit like sawdust and, well, animals. We're looking at a row of these wooden crates, but they're not just shipping crates. These are what they call puzzle boxes.
Right.
And inside every single one of them is a cat.
And if you know anything about cats, you know they're not happy about being in a box they didn't choose to be in.
Absolutely not. They're hungry, they're trapped, and just outside the mesh door of this crate, there is a bowl of food. They can smell it. They can see it.
The motivation is there.
The motivation is definitely there.
Yeah.
But the catch is the door is locked. But, and here's the setup for, I think, everything we're going to talk about today. There is a way out.
A simple way.
A simple way, but it's a mechanism. So maybe it's a loop of cord you have to pull, or a lever to press, or even just a platform to step on. It's a very simple act, but the cat, of course, doesn't know that yet.
And this whole setup, this was the famous experiment by the psychologist Edward Thorndike. And while it might sound a little bit like a Victorian-era escape room for pets,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
this specific experiment, it really laid the groundwork for almost everything we understand about human behavior today. It's foundational.
Which brings us, I think, to our mission for this deep dive. We're not just here to tell old cat stories.
Right.
We're looking at the origin story of the habit itself. We've got this fascinating set of research in front of us titled How to Build Better Habits in 4 Simple Steps. And our goal is to decode the biological software that dictates nearly everything you do.
Yeah, from the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep.
It's a pretty profound topic because
Yeah.
when you actually start to peel back the layers of your own daily life, you start to realize you aren't making nearly as many conscious choices as you think you are.
Oh, not even close. Most of what you do, the way you brush your teeth, the route you take to work, how you reach for your phone, it's all automated. It's running on a script.
That is honestly a little bit terrifying. The idea that I'm on autopilot for like half my day.
It can be. It can definitely feel that way. But the source material, it argues that it's also incredibly liberating, if you know how to control it.
If you get a handle on it.
Exactly. And that's where we're going. We're going to move from the chaotic behavior of those 19th century cats,
Get the cat's in the box.
right, to the modern neuroscience of what is called the habit loop.
But we're not stopping at theory. That's the important part.
Yeah.
By the end of this, we are going to hand you a toolkit. The source material lays out these 4 laws of behavior change.
Mm-hmm.
And these are basically the levers you can pull to hack your own biology. So if you've ever wondered why you can't stick to a diet or why you find yourself doom scrolling for 2 hours every night, even though you promised yourself you wouldn't,
We've all been there.
we all have. Stick around. We think we've got the answer.
So should we go back to the cats? Get back in the box.
Let's go back to the cats. So Thorndike drops a cat into this puzzle box. What is the immediate reaction? What does it do?
Chaos. I mean, it's just pure chaos. The source material describes the cats as acting frantically, just all over the place.
No plan?
No plan whatsoever.
Right.
They're poking their noses into corners. They're sticking their paws through any little opening they can find. They're clawing at loose objects. It's just random movement.
It's just brute force trial and error. Maybe this will work. No. Okay, maybe this will work.
Exactly. The cat is in the state of high alert, just trying anything to see what changes its situation. It's poke this, scratch that, bite this, no logic.
And then, after all that chaos, something happens.
An accident happens, just pure chance. The cat, in all its flailing, happens to step on the lever. Or it happens to pull the cord.
And the door just pops open.
And the reward is immediate and powerful. Escape and food.
The 2 best things if you're a cat.
Absolutely. And this is the crucial moment because Thorndike didn't just do this once. He tracked this behavior across many, many trials. He had specific data on specific cats. And the research we're looking at highlights one-star performer, let's say, cat 12.
I love that we have this specific data on cat 12.
Yeah.
So walk us through the numbers because this really, it visualizes how learning actually happens in the brain. It's not a gradual thing.
It's not. So look at the timeline. During the first 3 trials for cat 12, it took an average of 1.5 minutes to escape.
90 seconds.
90 seconds of scratching, meowing, total confusion.
Which feels like an absolute eternity when you're trapped in a box and you're hungry.
It is a very long time. But then you look at the last 3 trials. This is after the cat had been put in the box maybe 20 or 30 times.
Okay.
The average escape time dropped to 6.3 seconds.
Whoa. From 90 seconds to just over 6. That's a massive difference.
It's staggering. And what's fascinating here isn't just the speed, it's the shift in the quality of the behavior.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it went from random exploration to automatic execution. The cat stopped making the mistakes. It didn't claw at the walls anymore. It didn't poke its nose in the corners. It learned to ignore all the useless movement.
It cuts straight to the solution.
Exactly. It's like the brain literally edited out the noise. It just kept the one thing that worked.
So Thorndike, he summed this all up with a principle that basically became the bedrock of behavioral psychology, right?
He did. There's a quote in our source material here. He said, "Behaviors followed by satisfying consequences tend to be repeated, and those that produce unpleasant consequences are less likely to be repeated."
It sounds so simple when you say it like that.
Yeah.
Almost obvious. Do what works.
Right. But that's the thing. That is the fundamental definition of learning. The brain is essentially a cataloging machine. It's keeping a ledger of what worked and what didn't.
All in the service of survival.
Precisely. If an action leads to a reward, food, escape, pleasure, the brain puts a little tag on it that says, do this again. This was useful.
But this raises a huge question for me, and I think for a lot of people. Why does the brain even want to make things automatic? Why can't we just decide consciously every single time we face a door, okay, I'm now choosing to turn the knob? Why surrender that control to a habit?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And to answer it, we have to look at the cost of thinking. We have to talk about something called cognitive energy.
Okay, let's get into the biological why. Because you'd think the brain would want to stay in control. Being conscious and deliberate seems, better than being a zombie. But the source suggests the complete opposite.
It does. And a good way to think about it is new situation overload. When you encounter a problem for the very first time, like that cat in the box, or let's say you on your first day at a brand new job.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling. Total sensory overload.
Exactly. You're hyper aware of everything. Where's the coffee machine? Who's my boss? How do I log into this computer? Am I sitting in someone else's chair?
Your brain is just firing on all cylinders.
It's incredibly high. Neurologically, your brain is intake heavy. It is processing tons and tons of new information. It's simulating different outcomes. It's making very conscious, deliberate choices.
And that takes a lot of energy.
The biological reality is that it is incredibly expensive. It's metabolically exhausting, and it's resource heavy. It burns a lot of glucose.
So we literally can't keep that level of awareness up all day. We just crash.
We would burn out in hours. Absolutely. So the brain is constantly, and I mean constantly, looking for shortcuts. It's looking for that moment the source material calls the bam, a reward moment.
I love that phrase. Bam, a reward. It's like a little explosion in your brain that says, found it.
That's exactly what it is. It's the dopamine hit. And whether it's discovering that running calms your anxiety or that playing video games helps you relax after a stressful day at work, once the brain stumbles upon a solution that relieves a problem or delivers a reward, it makes a note.
It just starts writing the script.
It starts writing the script. It catalogs the specific events that preceded the reward. It's building that feedback loop. Try, fail, learn, try differently.
And as that script gets more refined, as the habit forms, the really amazing thing is that brain activity actually goes down.
It decreases. Yes. This is counterintuitive to a lot of people. You'd think getting better at something means your brain is working harder, but it's the opposite.
So a habit is basically the brain engaging its own power-saving mode.
That is a perfect analogy. The brain stops analyzing every single angle. It stops weighing all the options. It just creates a simple mental rule. If this, then that.
If I feel stressed, then I run. If I walk in the door, then I grab the TV remote.
Exactly. It completely skips the conscious trial and error phase to conserve that precious cognitive energy.
I see. The source material brings in a behavioral scientist here, a guy named Jason Herhana. He had a definition for habits that I really liked. He said, habits are simply reliable solutions to recurring problems in our environment.
Reliable solutions to recurring problems. That phrase, it completely reframes the whole idea of bad habits, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, because even a so-called bad habit is just a solution the brain found to some problem. It's a reliable solution, even if it's not a good one.
Right. So if I'm biting my nails, I'm not doing it because I love the taste of fingernails.
Of course not.
I'm doing it because... why? What's the recurring problem it's solving?
It's almost always solving the problem of stress or anxiety or maybe even just boredom. It might not be a healthy solution in the long run, but at some point to your brain, it worked. It provided a tiny bit of physical relief or distraction, so it got encoded. Stressful meeting. Okay, bite nails. Got it.
And there's a biological constraint that makes all of this necessary, right? The source talks about a bottleneck.
Yes, this is absolutely critical to understand. The conscious mind is the bottleneck of the brain. You can really only focus your full attention on one complex problem at a time.
We think we can multitask, but we can't.
We really can't. We're just switching focus very quickly, which is also exhausting. Now, think about this evolutionarily. This is a risky strategy. If you are totally focused on, say, tying your shoes, you might not notice the tiger creeping up in the bushes.
Okay, so automation is a survival strategy. It's not just about being lazy.
It's entirely a survival strategy. It allows you to pawn off all the recurring, predictable tasks. Walking, chewing, driving, tying your shoes to the non-conscious mind.
So your conscious mind is free.
It preserves your conscious attention for the things that really matter, the essential, novel tasks, the threats, the opportunities, the new problems that need creative solutions.
It's just wild to think that we're walking around on autopilot for, what does the research say, like half the day?
At least, for some people, it's much more. And that brings us to a very, very common objection. When people hear this, that they are running on these automated scripts, they often push back pretty hard.
Oh, I know this one. I hear this from friends all the time. If I build all these habits and have a routine, won't my life be boring?
Doesn't routine kill spontaneity?
I want to be free. I don't want to be a robot. That's the big one.
Right. The restriction versus freedom debate. The source material we're looking at, it calls this a false dichotomy. It says it's not a real choice.
Okay, so play the devil's advocate for me here. How can being a robot, being on autopilot, possibly make you more free? It seems like a contradiction.
The argument is counterintuitive, I'll grant you that, but it is incredibly powerful. The source argues that habits, good habits, actually create freedom. They don't restrict it.
Okay, go on. I'm listening.
Think about the people who don't have their habits handled. Let's take finances, for example. If you don't have a habit of saving money automatically, or a habit of tracking your expenses, if you have no financial habits, are you free?
No, not at all. You're usually incredibly stressed. You're living paycheck to paycheck, constantly struggling to make ends meet. You're reacting, not acting.
Exactly. You have less financial freedom because you're trapped by the daily chaos. This is the same thing with health. If you don't have good health habits, if you're not eating well or exercising regularly,
You're always tired.
you're always short on energy. You have less physical freedom to move and do the things you actually want to do. You can't just decide to go on a long hike on a whim if you're out of shape.
That's a really good point. It's like, if you have to decide every single day, should I work out today or not? That very decision takes up mental energy. It drains the battery before you've even started.
And time. And willpower. If you are always forced to make these basic decisions about simple, recurring tasks, when to pay the bills, when to work out, where did I put my keys, you have no mental space left for the big stuff, the creative stuff.
So discipline equals freedom. That old saying is actually neurologically true.
In a very real sense, yes. Mastering the fundamentals, automating the basics, it creates the headspace for free thinking. If you aren't constantly worrying about the little things, your mind is free to be creative, to be spontaneous in the ways that actually matter.
There's a quote from the text I really like here. It says, building habits in the present allows you to do more of what you want in the future.
Precisely. It's an investment in future freedom.
Okay, this is all making a lot of sense. So we know where habits come from, cats and boxes, and we know why our brains create them. To save energy and, paradoxically, create freedom. Now, let's open up the hood. Let's look at the engine itself.
The anatomy of a habit.
The source breaks this down into 4 very specific steps. It calls it the habit loop. And I want to walk through this slowly, because understanding this loop is the key to everything else we're going to discuss. It's the blueprint.
I think a good way to visualize it is as an endless neurological feedback loop that's running literally every moment you're alive, even right now. It has 4 components: cue, craving, response, and reward.
Okay, let's break that down. Step 1, the cue.
The cue is the trigger. It's a little bit of information in your environment that predicts a reward is coming.
So for the cat, that was seeing the lever or smelling the food.
Both, probably. In our ancestral past, as humans, we were constantly scanning the environment for cues that were related to primary rewards: food, water, shelter, safety, the chance to reproduce.
But most of us aren't scanning for berries on a bush anymore.
No, but the underlying mechanism hasn't changed one bit. Today, we scan for cues that signal what we call secondary rewards. Things like money, fame, power, status, praise, approval. personal satisfaction.
So the ping of a text message on your phone.
That is a massive, massive modern cue. It powerfully signals a potential reward. Social connection, interesting news, a funny video, a distraction from boredom. Your mind is basically a radar system, constantly analyzing your internal and external environment for these hints of a reward.
And that cue leads directly into step 2 of the loop, the craving.
And this is where it gets psychologically very deep. The source makes a fascinating distinction here that I think most people, myself included, miss all the time.
Okay.
You don't actually crave the habit itself. You crave the change in state that it delivers.
Wait, unpack that for me. I don't crave the habit. That seems wrong. I feel like I crave coffee.
But do you? Or do you crave the state of being alert and focused that the coffee provides? Think about smoking. Does a smoker actually crave the act of inhaling toxic smoke into their lungs?
No, of course not. That's a terrible experience on its own.
They crave the feeling of relief. They crave the nicotine hit that calms their nerves. The cigarette is just the delivery mechanism for that change in state.
Or brushing your teeth. I don't really love the act of scrubbing my teeth with a brush.
Right. But you crave the feeling of having a clean mouth. You don't want to turn on the TV. You want to be entertained.
Yeah.
The habit is just the vehicle. The destination is always a change in your internal state.
That makes so much sense. It reframes everything. And the source mentions something really interesting about how subjective this all is. A cue isn't a cue for everyone.
Exactly. A cue is totally meaningless until it's interpreted by an observer. The classic example is the sound of a slot machine in a casino. For you or me, that might just be annoying background noise.
Just clanging and beeping, I'd tune it out.
But for a gambling addict, that same sound is an incredibly potent trigger. It sparks an intense wave of desire, of craving. The neurological reaction is completely different based on that person's thoughts and their past experiences.
So it's our thoughts and our history that transform a neutral piece of information, a cue, into a craving.
Yes. Without that interpretation, without that internal desire to change your state, there is simply no motivation to act.
Which brings us very nicely to step 3, the response.
This is the action. This is the habit itself. It can be a thought or a physical act that you perform.
And this is where most people fail when they're trying to build a good habit.
Right.
They just have the cue, they have the craving, they know they should do the thing, but they just don't.
Because of what the source calls the friction factor. Whether or not a response actually happens depends on this constant battle between your level of motivation and the amount of friction, the effort that's associated with the behavior.
Okay, so if I want to go to the gym, that's the craving.
Mhm.
But the gym is 20 minutes away, and it's raining outside, and I'm tired. That's the friction.
And you likely won't go. Not unless your motivation is extremely high that day. Your brain is always running this calculation in the background. Is the potential reward worth the effort required to get it?
And your ability to do the thing also plays a huge role. The source uses a basketball example for this.
Right. You might really want to dunk a basketball. You might have the cue, you see the hoop, and you have the craving. You want the status and thrill of dunking. But if you're like me and you can't jump high enough, the habit loop just breaks right there.
The response is impossible.
You must be capable of performing the response.
Okay, so let's say we clear that hurdle. We're motivated enough, there's not too much friction, and we're able to do it. We get to the final step, step 4, the reward.
The end goal, the whole reason we started the loop. And rewards serve two very specific and important purposes. First, and most obviously, they satisfy.
They give you what you wanted, the immediate relief.
Yes, you eat the donut, you get the sugary energy, you get the promotion, you get the status. The craving that started the whole thing is satisfied, at least for a little while. But the second purpose is more long-term and much more important for learning. Rewards teach.
They teach the brain what's worth remembering.
Precisely. Your brain is, at its core, a reward detector. Your sensory nervous system is constantly monitoring the outcome of your actions. Did that feel good? Did it solve the problem? Did it deliver pleasure? Or did it deliver disappointment?
And if I do something and the outcome is disappointing,
Your brain marks that action as useless. It won't be prioritized for repetition. But if the action is satisfying, if the reward hits the mark, the entire neurological loop is reinforced.
it closes the loop.
It closes the loop and strengthens the connection. So the next time the cue appears, the craving will be a little bit stronger and the response will be a little bit faster, a little more automatic.
It's a self-reinforcing cycle.
Yeah.
Cue, craving, response, reward, over and over and over again.
Every single moment you're alive.
The source material does something really helpful here to make this a little easier to visualize. It splits this four-step loop into two distinct phases, the problem phase and the solution phase.
It does, and this is a really useful mental model. So the problem phase is the first two steps, cue and craving. This is the part where you realize something is wrong, or something needs to change, or something is missing.
Okay, let's use an example from the text to make this concrete. The donut shop.
A classic example, the problem phase. Step 1, the cue. You're walking down the street and you smell fresh, sugary donuts from a bakery. Step 2, the craving. You immediately begin to want a donut. Step 2, the craving. That's it. That's the problem phase. You have now identified a gap between where you are, a state of not having a donut, and where you want to be, a state of eating a donut.
The problem has been registered, and then the solution phase kicks in.
Right, the solution phase. Step 3, the response. You walk into the shop, you buy the donut, and you eat it. Step 4, the reward. Your craving is satisfied, the sugar hits your brain. Now here's the learning part. The act of buying a donut now becomes strongly associated with walking down that specific street.
The brain links the solution it found directly back to the problem that started it.
Exactly. Now let's run a negative one through that same framework. A common bad habit, the problem phase.
You're sitting at your desk trying to answer 100 stressful emails.
You feel stressed and overwhelmed. You crave a feeling of control or just some relief.
Oh man, I feel seen right now.
We all do. The problem is stress. What's the brain's quick and easy solution? The solution phase.
You start biting your nails.
You get a tiny momentary physical distraction that slightly reduces the feeling of stress. It's a very small reward, but it's immediate. And the result, biting your nails becomes neurologically associated with answering emails.
And that all happens so fast you don't even realize it's a loop.
It happens in a split second. Let's do another one.
Your phone buzzes in your pocket.
A spike of curiosity. Who is it? What's happening?
You immediately check your phone.
The curiosity is satisfied. You now have the knowledge. The loop is closed. And it just ran in under 2 seconds.
The text mentions the darkroom example too, which I think is perfect.
That's the ultimate example of a habit that is so deeply ingrained it's completely invisible to us. The problem phase.
You walk into a dark room.
You want to see. The solution phase.
You flip the light switch.
Sight. You don't think, my, it is dark in here. I believe I should locate the switch and activate it. You just do it. It has been programmed by thousands upon thousands of repetitions.
It's just amazing to think that these tiny little feedback loops are basically the building blocks of our entire lives, our personalities even.
They are. As the source material says, your habits are just a series of automatic solutions that solve the problems and stresses you face regularly.
Okay, so we've done the deep dive. We understand the machine. We know how the gears turn. Now comes the part I think everyone has been waiting for. How do we get in the driver's seat?
The application, the practical part.
The source calls this the 4 laws of behavior change. And I love this framework because it takes that theoretical loop cue, craving, response, reward, and it turns it into a practical set of levers we can actually pull.
Think of it like a control panel for your own behavior. If you want to create a good habit, you push these 4 levers forward. If you want to break a bad habit, you just pull them backward. It's an instruction manual.
Let's start with the positive. Creating good habits. How do we design a life where doing the right thing is the easy thing, maybe even the effortless thing?
We just map the 4 laws directly onto the 4 steps of the habit loop. It's a one-to-one correlation. So step 1 of the loop is the cue. Therefore, the first law of behavior change is make it obvious.
Make it obvious. So
Yeah.
Stop hiding your running shoes in the back of the closet.
Exactly. Don't hide them. Put them right by the front door where you'll trip over them. If the cue is the trigger for the entire habit, you need that trigger to be as loud and impossible to miss as you can make it.
Give me another example.
Sure. If you want to remember to take your vitamins every morning, don't put the bottle in a cabinet. Put it right next to your coffee maker. If you want to drink more water, don't just hope you'll remember. Fill up a bunch of water bottles and place them in all the places you spend time during the day.
You're essentially designing your environment to shout the cue at you.
You're hacking the scanning function of your brain. You're making the signal so bright and loud that the radar can't possibly miss it.
Okay, that's law 1. What's the second law? This one maps to the craving.
The second law is make it attractive.
This goes back to the dopamine we were talking about, right? The anticipation of the reward.
It does. We are motivated by the anticipation of a reward. So if you want to build a habit, you need to make it more appealing. You need to increase the craving for it. This is where strategies like temptation bundling from the source come in.
Temptation bundling. I like the sound of that. What is it?
It's where you pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do. For example, you only allow yourself to watch your favorite Netflix show while you're on the treadmill at the gym.
Well, that's smart. So you start to link the want, the show, with the need, the exercise.
Correct. You are artificially engineering a craving to go to the gym because it becomes the only gateway to the reward of watching the next episode. You're making the habit more attractive.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's move to the third law. This one maps to the response.
The third law is make it easy.
This one is my favorite because I am, at my core, inherently lazy.
We all are. That's not a moral failing, it's a biological fact. The source calls it the law of least effort. Our brains are wired to conserve energy. So if you want to build a good habit, you have to reduce the friction. Make it as easy as possible to do.
So if you want to go to the gym in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before, have your bag packed, and sitting by the door.
Precisely. If you want to eat healthier, don't rely on your willpower on a busy Wednesday night. Chop up all your vegetables on Sunday so they are ready to just grab and cook with. You are lowering the barrier to entry.
So it's easier to do the good thing than it is to not do it.
That's the goal. You want the good habit to become the path of least resistance.
And finally, the fourth law. This maps to the reward.
The fourth law is make it satisfying.
This seems like the trickiest one, especially for habits where the reward is really far in the future. Like the reward for saving for retirement is 30 years away. That's not very satisfying today.
That is the fundamental challenge of so many good habits. Our brains did not evolve to prioritize long-term rewards. They prioritize immediate gratification. So for these long-term habits, you have to find a way to add an immediate reward.
What would that look like?
It can be simple. Maybe you have a guilt-free coffee from a nice cafe every time you transfer money into your savings account. Or you can use a habit tracker. Just the simple act of ticking off a box on a calendar gives your brain a little hit of dopamine, a little bit of satisfaction.
Closes the loop for today.
It closes the loop. It tells the brain, hey, that was a good thing. We got a little reward. Let's do that again tomorrow.
Okay, so that's the powerful framework for building the good stuff. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. But what about the other side of the coin? Breaking the bad habits. The doom scrolling, the junk food, the smoking.
It's beautifully simple. We just invert the laws, we flip the script, and do the exact opposite.
Okay, walk me through the inversion of each law.
All right. The inversion of the first law, which was make it obvious. For a bad habit, you want to make it invisible.
So, if you eat too many cookies, hide the cookies.
Get them out of the house, ideally. But if you can't, put them on the top shelf in an opaque container in the back of the pantry. If you want to stop mindlessly checking your phone, don't just put it face down, leave it in another room for a few hours. Remove the cue from your environment. Out of sight, out of mind is actually scientifically valid advice.
Okay, inversion of the second law, make it attractive. So we want to make it unattractive.
This one often requires a conscious mindset shift. You have to reframe the habit. Instead of focusing on what you're giving up, you focus on the benefits of avoiding it. So instead of thinking, ugh, I'm depriving myself of a cigarette, you consciously think, I am choosing to be a healthy person who doesn't smell like smoke and who can climb a flight of stairs without getting winded.
You're reducing the perceived value of the bad habit in your mind.
You're trying to make the craving shrivel up.
Got it. Inversion of the third law, make it easy. This one must be make it difficult.
Increase the friction. Make it a pain to do the bad habit. If you watch too much TV, take the batteries out of the remote after you're done and put them in a drawer in another room. Or just unplug the TV after every use.
I heard about a guy who programmed his router to shut off the internet at 10 p.m. every night.
That is an excellent example of making it difficult. You're adding steps. If you want to stop spending so much money online, delete your saved credit card information from your browser. Make it so you have to physically get up and find your wallet every time. That little bit of friction is often enough for the lazy part of your brain to just say, not worth it.
And the final one, the inversion of the fourth law, make it satisfying. So, make it unsatisfying.
This sounds a little like self-punishment, and sometimes it is.
How does that work?
The best way is to get an accountability partner. Make a pact with a friend. If you skip your workout, you have to immediately Venmo them $50. Make the immediate consequence of the bad habit painful or embarrassing. If the behavior yields an unpleasant consequence, just like Thorndike's cats learned to avoid clawing at the walls because it was unpleasant and useless, you will be less likely to repeat it.
When you lay it all out like that, it's really a universal diagnostic tool, isn't it?
It is. The source emphasizes this point again and again. It says, whenever you want to change your behavior, you can simply ask yourself these 4 questions. How can I make it obvious? How can I make it attractive? How can I make it easy? How can I make it satisfying?
And if you're struggling, if you fail to stick with something, you just ask the opposite. Why didn't I do it? Was the cue invisible? Was the habit unattractive? Was it too hard? Was the reward unsatisfying?
The answer is always, always in one of those 4 laws. It applies to everything. Sports, politics, healthcare, managing a team. It's just a map of human nature.
I really like how the source puts it near the end. It says, every goal is doomed to fail if it goes against the grain of human nature.
That's it. Stop trying to fight your own biology with willpower. It's a losing battle. Work with it. Design for it.
So we've traveled all the way from a wooden box in a lab in 1898 to the complex neural pathways of our modern brains. We've seen how that simple loop cue, craving, response, reward automates so much of our lives to save energy.
And we've learned how to hack that very loop using the 4 laws of behavior change. It's a journey from observation to application.
Before we wrap up for today, I want to touch on one final, really provocative thought from the very end of the source material. It's about this idea of systems.
Yes, this is a crucial distinction, and I'm glad you brought it up. We so often focus on setting goals. I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to write a book. I want to learn Spanish. But the source argues that your results in life have very little to do with your goals and almost everything to do with the systems in your life.
There's a quote that really stuck with me. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
That's the one. It's so powerful. If your system, which is your environment, your daily routine, the cues you're surrounded by, if that system is designed for bad habits, then no amount of willpower or ambitious goal setting is going to save you in the long run.
It really is the difference between trying to swim upstream against a powerful current and just taking a few minutes to change the direction of the river itself.
Exactly. And I think the final idea I'd want to leave everyone mulling over is this. Look at your own life. Are you constantly fighting your own biology, trying to force yourself to do things? Or are you actively building a system where good habits just emerge naturally?
That is the question, isn't it? Are you the cat just flailing around randomly in the box, hoping to get lucky? Or have you redesigned the box so the door just naturally opens right when you want it to?
Beautifully put.
So here's our challenge to you listening. Identify one lever you can adjust today. Just one. Make one good habit a tiny bit more obvious. Or one bad habit a tiny bit more difficult. Tweak the system just 1%.
And then just watch what happens to the loop.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.
Take care.